If you're planning to fly to Vietnam in 2025 and still banking on visa on arrival, stop. Things changed, and your trip might depend on it. The truth is, VOA still exists, but it's quickly becoming the second best choice as Vietnam shifts toward longer e-visas, expands its visa-free list, and quietly adds new costs and risks to the old arrival process. And if you're not paying attention, those small changes can easily slow you down, or even derail your trip completely. In the next few minutes, you'll see why the e-visa is becoming the go-to option, which countries now skip visas altogether, and the hidden fees most travelers never notice until it's too late. Here's what actually changed, and how to choose the fastest, safest option for your trip. First, the baseline you need. Vietnam wants everything digital and processed before you even step on the plane. The country's official e-visa system now runs through updated government portals where most travelers start and finish their visa application. Please check the link in the description for the official portal. Once approved, you're required to print a physical copy of your e-visa and carry it with you, because airlines and immigration officers still check the paper version. What's changed most is the scale. Vietnam has expanded e-visa eligibility to more nationalities than ever, and the old 30-day limit has grown into far more flexible options. Travelers can now apply for e-visas lasting up to 90 days, with the choice of single or multiple entries, making it easier for people who want to explore the region or stay longer without repeated paperwork. Vietnam is clearly signaling the direction it's heading: fast, digital, and pre-approved. So if e-visas are now so good, why do people still talk about VOA? VOA today is not a simple one-stop counter at the airport. It's a two-step process packed with traps people don't hear about until they're already flying. Instead of walking up and getting a visa on the spot, you first need an approval letter, which you must request through a private agent or service such as Visa VN. That letter isn't optional. Without it, airlines can refuse boarding because they're responsible for making sure you're allowed to enter Vietnam. Once you land, the second stage begins. You join the VOA line, hand over your documents, and pay a separate stamping fee in cash, usually in US dollars. This only works at specific international airports that still process VOA, and you must bring printed copies of your approval letter, passport photos, and sometimes even proof of stay. Nothing about this system is instant or guaranteed, and because it passes through third-party agents, there's always a risk of delays, errors, or letters that don't match airline requirements. And these steps create three concrete costs most travelers forget. You'll pay more than you think, sometimes a lot more. VOA looks cheap at first, but once you break it down, the real cost hits fast. To even get the approval letter, most travelers pay an agent $20 to $35, depending on how fast they need it processed. Then, after landing, there's the official stamping fee. Typically $25 for single entry or $50 for multiple entry, and it must be paid in cash, usually in US dollars. Add the airport wait time, anywhere from 20 minutes to over an hour during peak arrivals, and suddenly that easy option feels like a long detour. Travelers also run into another problem: fake or low-quality approval letters, especially from unknown services. A mismatched name, wrong arrival airport, or incorrect dates can lead to airlines refusing boarding or forcing you to buy a last-minute ticket change. One traveler using a cheap Visa VN alternative reported paying over $70 total after all fees, plus nearly an hour in the queue. Not exactly the smooth shortcut people imagine. There are three scenarios where a visa on arrival can still save you time or money. The first is true last-minute travel, like when you need to fly within 24 to 48 hours, and you just don't have time for an e-visa to process. In those cases, some agencies, including services like Visa VN, can actually rush an approval letter faster than the official system. It gives you a workable backup when every minute really counts. The second scenario is for travelers from countries that briefly fall outside Vietnam's e-visa eligibility list. This is pretty rare these days, but it does still happen during policy updates or temporary suspensions, making VOA your only option until e-visa access returns. The third sweet spot is organized group or charter travel, especially when operators pre-arrange all approval letters in bulk. For certain airline crew, ship passengers, or travelers on tightly coordinated itineraries, VOA can actually simplify the process because, well, everything's handled behind the scenes. So, yeah, these are narrow, specific situations, but they're the few cases where VOA genuinely works in your favor. E-visa means fewer gambles, more certainty. Unlike VOA, the official e-visa is applied directly through government portals, like evisa.gov.vn, so you're not relying on third-party agents or approval letters. Processing is honestly fast and predictable, usually completed within 3 business days, and the fee is fixed with no hidden charges at the airport. Once approved, you get a digital record you can print and keep, making sure the airline and immigration officers have exactly what they expect. The new system also gives you up to 90-day validity and multiple entry options, which is way more flexibility than the old 30-day single-entry visas. To apply safely, just follow a simple micro-checklist. Use only official portals, fill out all details carefully, save your confirmation email, print the e-visa copy, and keep it in your carry-on. Make sure your passport name matches exactly, and double-check those entry dates before you book flights. These small precautions really help prevent delays or denials and make your entry smooth. Even e-visas trip people up, so here are the top blunders I see. First, some travelers still turn to third-party or fake websites, thinking they're official portals. Using these can lead to lost money, invalid approvals, or even scams. Always stick to the government domain, evisa.gov.vn. Next, simple misspellings in names or passport numbers are surprisingly common. Just one wrong letter can trigger airline denial at check-in, so double-check every field before submitting. Another frequent mistake is failing to print the e-visa. Sure, digital copies exist, but immigration officers expect a hard copy in hand, so keep it accessible in your carry-on. Some people assume the e-visa covers all passport types, but certain passports or diplomatic travel may need separate arrangements, which you can verify through official sources. And finally, not checking which airports accept e-visa entries can cause last-minute panic. Not all international airports in Vietnam process e-visas, so you gotta confirm your arrival point before booking flights. The fixes are pretty straightforward. Use only official portals, triple-check names and passport info, print your visa, verify passport eligibility, and confirm the airport list. These steps turn what feels like a gamble into a nearly seamless entry. So, big news here. Vietnam finally stopped making things painful for a lot of Europeans, and well, plenty of others too. In March 2025, the government issued some new resolutions that extended visa exemptions to even more countries. And by August 15, 2025, the updated 45-day visa-free list officially kicked in. What this means is, a growing number of travelers just don't need an e-visa or a visa on arrival at all. They can basically show up and walk right in, hassle-free. The folks who benefit the most are European tourists from countries just added to the exemption list, and also some travelers from select Asian nations who now get to enjoy short-term stays without all that paperwork. For these lucky groups, the whole process of getting approval letters, paying VOA fees, or waiting around for e-visa processing is honestly totally skipped. If you want the nitty-gritty, official embassy sources have detailed lists and guidance for eligible travelers, making it, easier than ever to check your status before you even book your flights. So, for anyone planning a vacation or a short-term business trip, these changes are kind of a game changer. Vietnam is really aiming to attract long-stay tourists and investors now, and that's shifting the whole visa strategy. Reports from Condé Nast Traveler and government announcements show the country is looking into 5 to 10-year golden visas for investors and long-term residents, plus longer-term e-visa options for regular travelers. The focus is pretty clear: make entry pre-approved, digital, and, trackable. All these changes mean there's way less need for short-term VOA, because most travelers can now secure their stay before they even leave home, which really cuts down on uncertainty and those airport lines. With digitalization, consular services are more and more online, and approvals go through official portals instead of those on-site agents. For vacationers, business travelers, or remote workers planning to stick around a while, this trend makes the e-visa and extended digital visas way more attractive than VOA, which still depends on agents, cash fees, and honestly, a lot of manual steps. Basically, Vietnam's visa landscape is moving toward predictable, pre-arranged entry, making VOA more of a backup than the main option. If you get this shift, you can save yourself time, avoid surprises, and keep your plans flexible. Here's a one-line rule. Choose the option that minimizes risk for your trip. Breaking it down quickly. If your nationality is visa exempt, you don't need any visa. Just book your flight and pack your bags. If your travel falls under the new e-visa rules, go digital. Apply through evisa.gov.vn, save the confirmation, and print a copy. For last-minute travel without embassy access, VOA is technically possible, but only if you trust your agent and are prepared for extra fees and airport lines. Business travelers or anyone planning a longer stay should look into multi-entry e-visas or even longer-term programs like golden visas or talent or residency permits. Before booking your flights, follow this checklist. First, confirm your nationality's visa status. Second, check whether your passport type is accepted. Third, identify which airports accept e-visas or VOA. Fourth, compare total costs and processing times. Fifth, decide if your schedule allows for pre-arrival processing or requires a VOA backup. Keeping these points in mind ensures your Vietnam entry goes smoothly and avoids hidden surprises. If you do VOA, don't get caught at the visa counter. Bring this. First, make sure you carry the exact stamping fee in cash, usually in US dollars, because many counters don't accept cards or local currency. Next, have your printed approval letter, passport photos, and the completed entry form ready. Missing any of these can hold up the process for tens of minutes. Only certain international airports still handle VOA stamping, so double-check your arrival point before you fly. Airlines may even refuse boarding if your approval letter is missing or incorrect, so keep all flight confirmations handy. Quick airport survival checklist. First, cash ready for fees. Second, approval letter printed. Third, extra passport photos. Fourth, filled entry form. Fifth, flight confirmation accessible. Sixth, confirm airport accepts VOA. Seventh, stay patient during queues. Following this system reduces stress, prevents last-minute hiccups, and makes VOA entry predictable, at least as predictable as this method allows. Even then, it's slower and riskier than the e-visa, which is why most savvy travelers are switching. If someone's pushing a fast approval email for an extra fee, stop. Scams around VOA and even e-visas are rampant. Common patterns include fake approval PDFs that look official but aren't linked to any government system, emails from untraceable agencies asking for urgent payments, or last-minute pressure tactics claiming your flight will be canceled unless you pay immediately. To stay safe, always verify your approval letter, call the nearest embassy or check the official portal of visa.gov.vn to confirm your application status. If something seems off, request a refund immediately and document all correspondence. You may need proof for bank disputes or consumer protection claims. Here's a quick script you can use when checking with your agent or embassy. Hello, I submitted an e-visa or VOA approval on date. Can you confirm my application number and validity for arrival airport? Another option. I received an approval letter from your agency. Can you provide verification through the official government portal? These questions help separate legitimate services from scams and reduce last-minute panic at the airport. So, with all that, what's the bottom line for 2025 travelers? Bottom line. In 2025, VOA is a niche tool. E-visa or visa-free entry is the safe, modern choice for most travelers. Use VOA only when you have no practical alternative. Quick summary. E-visa equals official, cheaper, and safer. Visa-free is the best option when available. VOA is a fallback with extra costs, time, and risks. With Vietnam opening longer visas and rolling out new digital programs, the travel game is changing, and the smartest travelers adapt before they arrive. If this helped, like and subscribe, and check the pinned comment for a printable pre-departure checklist.